You wake up and it's dark. Not the kind of dark you know. Complete dark and cold, not uncomfortable cold. The kind of cold that kills you if you stop moving. No heating, no jacket, no insulated walls, no weather app that told you this was coming. Just you, the frozen ground, and temperatures that dropped to 40 below zero and stayed there for months. For hundreds of thousands of years, ancient humans didn't just experience winter. They survived it with nothing. No technology, no infrastructure, no supply chain. Just their bodies, their minds, and each other. So how did they do it? How did early humans survive winters that would kill a modern person in hours? The answer starts with something that happened roughly 1 million years ago. Fire. Not the discovery of fire, the mastery of it. Animals encounter fire from lightning strikes. What ancient humans did was learn to control it, carry it, and keep it alive through rain, wind, and snowstorms. The earliest solid evidence of controlled fire comes from Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, dated to roughly 1 million years ago. But fire became truly essential when humans began pushing into colder climates, into Europe, into Central Asia, into places where winter wasn't a season, it was a death sentence. Fire does several things simultaneously that no other single technology could replicate. It keeps your core temperature from dropping. It dries wet clothing before hypothermia sets in. It keeps predators away at night. And it cooks food, unlocking more calories from the same amount of meat, giving your body more fuel to generate internal heat. But fire had one critical weakness. It needed fuel, constantly. In a landscape buried under snow, finding dry wood was itself a survival challenge. Ancient humans solved this by planning ahead. Archaeological evidence from multiple Paleolithic sites in Europe shows stockpiles of wood and bone stored near hearths, bone burns. In areas with limited wood, ancient humans used the fat-rich bones of mammoths as fuel. A single large femur could burn for hours, but fire only helped if you had shelter to keep the heat in. The answer isn't caves, not primarily. Caves are rare, often already occupied by predators, and not evenly distributed across the landscape. What ancient humans built instead was more impressive. At Mezerich in Ukraine, archaeologists excavated a site dating back 15,000 years and found 4 large dome-shaped structures built entirely from mammoth bones, frameworks constructed from interlocked skulls, jaws, and leg bones, roofs covered with animal hides stretched tight. Inside, central hearths kept temperatures survivable even when outside temperatures plummeted below zero. Each structure could house multiple families. These weren't shelters thrown together in desperation, they were engineered. The builders understood load-bearing, insulation, and heat retention. Similar bone and hide structures have been found across Eastern Europe and Siberia. Wherever wood was scarce, ancient humans built from what the environment provided. Now clothing, because this is where human ingenuity becomes almost unbelievable. We know ancient humans were making sophisticated clothing at least 100,000 years ago. The evidence comes from an unlikely source. Lice, body lice, which live in clothing rather than on skin, diverged from head lice approximately 100,000 years ago. The moment humans started wearing enough clothing to create a separate habitat for a new louse species is the moment we know clothing became essential. At Kostenki in Russia, dated to around 30,000 years ago, researchers found eyed needles made from bone. Tiny, precisely crafted needles with holes small enough to thread sinew through. You don't make eyed needles to sew loose hides, you make them to create fitted, layered, sewn garments that trap body heat the same way modern thermal layers do. Ancient humans in Ice Age Europe were making the equivalent of base layers, insulating mid-layers, and waterproof outer shells, fox fur for insulation, reindeer hide for waterproofing. They weren't wrapping themselves in skins. They were tailoring cold weather gear using techniques that wouldn't be significantly improved upon until synthetic materials were invented in the 20th century. But shelter and clothing still weren't enough. You also needed fat. Winter survival at extreme cold requires far more calories than summer living. Your body burns through fuel rapidly, just maintaining core temperature. The archaeological record shows a consistent pattern across cold climate sites. Fat was the priority. Bone marrow, brain tissue. The fat deposits around organs. These were the most prized parts of any animal kill. Gram for gram, fat provides more than twice the calories of protein. In a winter where you might not make a kill for weeks, the fat from a single mammoth could be the difference between life and death. Ancient humans also stored food. At multiple Siberian sites, archaeologists found evidence of meat buried in permafrost, a natural freezer, preserved through winter for lean periods. This required planning months in advance, killing surplus animals in autumn. remembering cache locations under meters of snow, rationing supplies across months. And none of this could be done alone. Winter made cooperation non-negotiable. You cannot tan hides alone efficiently. You cannot build a mammoth bone structure alone. You cannot hunt large animals in deep snow alone. You cannot keep a fire alive through a storm while also sleeping. Winter is when the group wasn't just socially valuable, it was biologically essential. The humans who survived Ice Age winters were the ones embedded in tight cooperative groups where skills were shared and no single person had to do everything alone. And that cooperation extended to knowledge itself. Every technique, the bone fuel, the layered clothing, the food caches, the engineered shelters, none of it was invented by one person. All of it accumulated across thousands of generations. A grandmother who knew which furs insulated best. A hunter who knew where the fat animals went in winter. A builder who understood which bones locked together without collapsing. That knowledge was the real survival technology, not the tools, not the shelters, the accumulated wisdom of every person who had faced winter before and figured out one more way to get through it. Winter killed the isolated, the unprepared, and the stubborn. It kept the cooperative, the knowledgeable, and the adaptable. And every winter that passed, the humans who came out the other side were a little better at surviving the next one. For hundreds of thousands of years, winter was the harshest exam our species ever faced. We passed it every single time, not because we were the strongest, but because we remembered, we planned, and we refused to face it alone.